All right. Are we live with this week's Nooner with Josh?
We are.
Okay, cool.
Wow, it's a premature nooner. sounds like pretty much every afternoon on Saturday. Never mind. Sorry.
I'm here with a guest. What's your name?
Hi, this is Tom from the Bob and Tom Show. Happy to be here. Thank you, Josh. You're the host?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
This is weird for me.
Yeah.
Getting a little something to drink.
But I won't be asking you questions. Chris Spangle, our social media guru, will be asking them to us, and then we will reply to the phone camera.
What's our topic?
I think today is anything goes.
Anything goes. Ask Tom anything. Leave us a comment on the Facebook Live video. I have a question here from Joseph, who sent it in beforehand on Twitter. And he said, if you could have any special talent or superpower, Tom, what would it be and why?
Gosh, that's a good one. Superpower. Gosh, time travel maybe? Does that count, or is that?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be good. See what's going on. Would you want to go backwards or forwards?
Man, that's a great question.
I think I'd go backwards because there's probably going to be a lot more backwards than forwards.
Yeah,
forwards may be a little bleak. Well, I couldn't talk to anybody. They were all on their cell phones. I don't know what superpower, though. I mean, when I was a kid, of course, I wanted X-ray vision like every kid.
Yeah, at least every boy.
Yeah. Have you ever had a flying dream?
Sure.
I've only had two in my entire life. And the cool thing about them was it was like kind of anti-gravitational flying where you're flying real slow. And I remember going up the steps of my parents' house, and I'm just floating by going, oh, this is great. Took a left turn. Oh, there's the bookcase.
Yeah.
God, that was great. I wish there was some kind of on-demand thing where you could type in the topic of your dream. We can't go on with this topic, Josh, because I'm sure all the topics you'd choose would be filthy, disgusting.
Sure. Hot dogs going through donuts, that sort of thing.
Erotic.
Food and sex combined.
Roger wants to know, what is something people don't worry about but really should?
Their Twitter handles. Hey, I'm Boner Plus. Get it? Grow up, okay? And I love it when you get a guy and he's got a name like that. I'm Wet Panties 47. I want to comment on the president last night. Oh, well, obviously you're not on Meet the Press this week, Wet Panties 47. I'm just saying, this is like the radio shows that have Booger and what they've always. Hey, we got Turd Boy. Looks like our copter crashed, and we got. Oh, wait a minute, hit a school bus. Turd Boy, give us the report. Well, you know what I mean. Maybe give yourself an adult name. Just try it out.
Anything else?
Oh, there's lots more. What was the topic again?
It was basically what should people worry about that they don't?
Worry about where you're at in the grocery store. Don't block the aisle. That happens all the time.
Yeah, worry about your own life. Don't worry about the Kardashians. Don't worry about famous people. Be friends with your real friends. You don't have friends that, well, I've never met him, but he's my best friend. Well, that's sad. You might want to talk to a psychiatrist. Be around your own life. This is coming from me, who I don't even know where I live.
Chuck wants to know, did Tom like being a disc jockey as compared to the current B&T talk radio format?
Oh, is he aware of how bad I was?
I don't think so.
Oh, God. Ask Bob about that. I was the worst. I would be so nervous. And I'd always, because back in the day, before everything was digital, you had to be able to operate the machinery, which was problematic. And you had to have, like, the next thing ready to go. So I'd be going off on something and realize we got a commercial break coming up. Uh-oh. Where'd I put the commercials? Or I would play records at the wrong speed. That's the worst thing. You'd be, because this is a vinyl issue, but there was the 33 and a third and 45 RPMs with records, and yeah, you'd do some kind of sexy, late night. I'll tell you what, this is Led Zeppelin, and then you hit the button and it's going the wrong speed. And, I'm buying a stairway to heaven, and all of the moment is gone. I would do that all the time. Bob famously screwed me on this. This is a classic story. Bob and I were up in Petoskey, Michigan, WPZ, and Bob was the music director and I was the program director. Once again, this is the monkeys running the zoo. And but we had no budget to buy music. So when a new record would come out, Bob we'd either get him from the record company, or he'd go out and pay $2 for whatever it was. And at the time, Christopher Cross was really, really huge. Mm-hmm. And we'd heard that he had a new thing coming out. And what we would do is we would take music at that radio station. It would all be put on what's called a cart, which looks like an 8-track tape. And there were these cart machines. And instead of having the actual records, you'd put the carts in, and they were synced so that they would all start at the beginning. And so I'm on the air one afternoon, and it was a Saturday, and Bob comes in during one of the commercial breaks, and he goes, "You're not going to believe this. I've got the new Christopher Cross." Oh, wow, that's really cool. And he goes, "Don't play it for 10 minutes." And he had some explanation for why I couldn't play it. So he leaves.
Yes.
And then, so 10 minutes later, I do the smoky-voiced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been playing Christopher Cross, and this is the new one. We've been waiting for it." And I hit the button, and it was Doris Day, Que Sera, Sera. By this time, Bob's in downtown Petoskey, pissing his pants, driving his car. And then, of course, the other aspect of this is I didn't have another song ready. So then there's this sort of acrobatic move where you're backing off the mic going, "Oh, that was really funny." Just you're trying to, you got to get a record, you got to cue the thing up on the air. And all true.
Comedy.
All true. Yeah.
Yes.
But there's a lot of cool stuff about back in the day. Another funny one is our engineer on the overnight. He was overnight doing some testing on the radio station, because this particular station had a 100,000 watt just mega power going all over northern Michigan and into Wisconsin and the UP, et cetera, et cetera. And the engineer, the engineer was there like at 1 a.m, and I lived in Harbor Springs, 45 minutes away from the radio station, and he's playing this record, but it's an album, because he's busy doing stuff, so he can't be changing the record, so he just puts this album on. And I realized it was James Taylor's Greatest Hits. Now, if you're familiar with James Taylor's Greatest Hits, there is a live version of a song called Steamroller. And it's a great song, and it's a great live version. Have you ever heard the live version?
No.
He does a little bit of ad-libbing kind of in the middle of the thing, and he does kind of one of those blues extensions where he takes a phrase. But it's the F word.
Oh.
And I knew what was coming because I'm, 45 minutes away, and this is pre-cell phone, so I'm frantically trying to call this guy.
Oh, no.
So, and of course, it aired, but fortunately, there was no FCC fine. There were many a story. One time, one of our guys fell asleep on the air, and if you've ever played a vinyl record, when they get to the end, there's this sound they make. It's like a thup.
Yes.
Where the tone arm is on the final groove, and it just. So I hopped in my car one night, and I hear. And again, I'm over in Harbor Springs, and this radio station's in Petoskey. So I call the cops because I know a couple of. So I call and I go, "Hey, look, I don't know what's going on, but you better get over there." And the cop calls me back, and he goes, "Well, I'm looking in the window. And the guy's either dead or asleep." So he starts beating on the window, and then the guy wakes up. But the other good one was there was no vending machine in that radio station. There wasn't a Coke machine, but there was one across the street, across a very busy street, at the gas station. Mm-hmm. So what you would do is you'd put on a long record and run, if you were doing the overnights or the late night shift when there was nobody else around, you'd run across the street, get a Coke, and then come back. And one of our guys brilliantly locked himself out of the radio station. So, and again, it's pre-cell phone, so then you're, and of course his keys are in the building, so you're trying to flag down a car on 131. Hello. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
Megan wants to know what advice you would give to someone trying to get into radio or stand-up.
Okay, two different things. I'll let Josh handle stand-up.
Just go to as many open mics and shows as you can, and just be as honest as you can. Don't. What's funny to you is probably a lot of times will be funny to the audience. So just be honest.
But there are different spheres of stand-up. I mean, you get a guy like Greg Hahn who's doing a character.
Right.
What's funny is funny. I'll get into arguments. People go, Carrot Top sucks. No, he's brilliant.
Yes.
It's whatever's funny, whatever works.
Right.
And there's different audiences for different groups. But, I think it's a lot of practice. And right.
Sure. But even your character, you have to believe in that character. I couldn't go up and do what Larry the Cable Guy does because I don't know that guy. Larry, does so or did. And
it's a lot of practice.
Exactly. Yeah.
As for radio, I would say start small, like we did, where you can make incredibly stupid mistakes. And it'll always be out there. Radio's a really one-on-one medium. People are probably watching this. This is very similar. People are watching this by themselves, typically. They don't gather around the radio like the old fireside chat. Well, the president's going to talk, kids. Let's sit down and listen to Bob and Tom. No, it's just one-on-one, and you just practice. And I don't know if being yourself is very helpful, especially if you're an incredible dick. Don't be yourself. It's like anything else. You want to start small and do your homework, get your hours in. And there's some people who are absolute naturals. Pat McAfee is the most natural guy I've ever seen. The first time he was ever on the radio, you're going, wow, this guy is great. That's him. And he instantly got it. He understood, okay, people, this sounds really stupid. A lot of people don't realize they can't see me.
Yeah, no, yeah.
This is a true story. We had a guy come in. He was a comedian, and he came in and he was wearing a baseball cap, and he had hair down to below his nipples, and talked for a few minutes, and then he said, well, you know what I like to do? And he takes off his hat, and he's bald. It was a radio show.
Yeah.
So then if you do the play-by-play afterwards, that was funny. He took his hat off, and the hair is attached to the cap. Boy, that's some good quality radio.
Right.
But you've got to understand when you're doing radio, you've got to be telling the story. And there's all different kinds of radio. I mean, there's guys who are great at play-by-play, and they're great storytellers, and it's just different stuff. Find your own niche and go for it.
One questioner asked, what do you think the future of radio is? John asks that on Facebook Live.
Well, like I said, a lot of radio listening is done in automobiles, and so that's going to stick around for a while.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know how long. And radio listenership, according to statistics, is way up. And there was a time people would go, well, no one's going to listen to the radio because they've got their iPod. Yeah, and once I've listened to those 40 songs 3,000 times,
right, people
kind of want to know that their fellow man is awake and semi-alert, and here's what's going on. I still love radio. I can remember I was when I really kind of decided I wanted to do it. I was driving up to Michigan from Florida, and I ended up on, I forget the name of the station. It's a one of those clear channel, not the company, but a clear channel signal, which means there's no one else on the frequency. I think it was 1100 out of Cleveland, Ohio, and I was in the middle of nowhere, and I picked up a Cavs game, Cleveland Cavaliers, and I wish I remembered this guy's name, and he was so good. And I'm not usually a sports guy, and I got listening to this guy describing this game, and I got completely hooked by this guy. He was doing such an amazing job of telling the story of this game. And I got thinking about it and thought, that is really an art form. That is really great to be able to do that. I wonder if I could do that. And I'll never be as good as that guy. And I certainly couldn't do play-by-play. But there's something about it. Like I said before, it's a one-on-one, intimate medium. You're just talking to one person. So,
David asks, why do most of the old people in your classic bits sing the Old Gray Mare song? I thought this the other day, too.
Well, pretty soon they're going to be singing Def Leppard, MTV classics. I remember when those kids on MTV were only 30. They're all on Social Security. I don't know. It's
a funny reference.
The classics.
Joseph asks, any talents you wish you had?
Any. Yeah. I'll take anyone. I wish I could sing. I can sort of goofy sing, but.
Yeah,
Sometimes, you hear someone and you hear them for 10 seconds and you go, jeez, That guy's good.
Yeah.
We were talking on the air the other day about this, and I'd have to sit down and go through it. But whatever kind of music you're interested in, there are probably 50 songs that you can tell are great songs in the first 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of Led Zeppelin songs that jump out that right away you go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
They can do that. But I wish I could sing. I mean, Josh, you can sing. You're lucky.
A bit, yeah. I wish I could do accents and voices and stuff. I can't. I'm not great at those.
Dustin asks, if you wanted to do something else, what would it be?
Oh, you'll never believe this. I really would like to. It would take a lot of time to learn how to do it. I would love to write shows for the Disney Channel. I love sitcoms. My favorite one now is Kevin Can Wait. I just love that guy. He's so visual, so funny. But because I have little kids and big kids, I watch more kids TV than anything else. I would love to be able to be part of one of those kids TV shows. I just think that, and it's completely different than this. Obviously, I don't know if I'd have the skill to do it, but that'd be really fun. What would you want to do?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much just joke. They just throw in a lot of jokes. So, I mean, I could see you being...
Yeah, but you can put good lessons in there about being kind.
Right, of course.
And different types of people. Because being a kid is so hard. I think it's even harder now.
Yeah.
What would you want to do if you didn't do this?
It's probably something in the medical field.
Really?
Yeah. I've always been fascinated by...
Anyone want to write a joke for this?
Anatomy or biology.
Okay, I'm just asking. I'm not going to say it. You think
Gastrointestinal.
Love that kind of stuff. So I would. Always.
Yeah, that's something I have absolutely no aptitude in. I mean, just none.
Yeah.
I bluffed my way through high school and college anyway, but chemistry, biology, I can't do any of it.
Chemistry is where they lose me. But
you want to be a doctor?
Yeah, I think so.
What kind? Like a
I don't know if I'd want to be a GP or if I just want to be like some kind of specialized.
I never would have guessed that.
I've loved it for a long. I just didn't have the. I knew that I didn't have the patience to go through all the schooling, and the skill probably.
Nutritionist.
It's very funny, Chris.
See, now the moderator's doing fat jokes.
Right, that's right. Yeah,
okay.
Which is fat on fat crime in this case.
Matt wants to know, what was the best guest or guest that you've had on the show?
Oh, there's no way to. I get asked that and I can never remember, and I feel bad answering
Well, was there anybody that you thought might go? You were a little hesitant about, and then it ended up being just terrific.
Oh, lots.
Yeah,
a lot. Especially musicians, because sometimes you never know if they're going to be okay and normal and great and whatever. Yeah, there are people that come in, you think they're going to be horrible, and they turn out to be super cool and funny. Steve Miller from the Steve Miller Band. Funny. I'd have to really think about the list of people that were great.
Is there anybody that you're...
Oh, here's one. This is the Academy Award winner. Did you ever see Amadeus?
Sure, yeah. F. Murray Abraham?
F. Murray Abraham, who you may not be familiar with. If you see him, you'd go, oh, my God, that guy. I thought, he's going to be really, pretentious and lofty and he turned out to be so great. He actually, during the interview, it was a satellite interview. When he was done, he goes, "Hey, can I call you guys back? I've got an availability in an hour." He called back.
Nice.
He was one of these guys having a great time. But there have been a lot of people who turn out to be super cool. Peter Frampton may be the coolest guy in the universe. He could not be more talented and more friendly. Just a wonderful guy. There's so many though. I'm not singling anybody out. It's a fair question. I'd have to sit down and really, really think about it.
Christopher asks, what is the fattest thing that you've done, Tom?
Oh, God, that's a great question, Christopher. Let me think about this. God, I don't know. I've got something kind of along those lines.
Yeah, what's that?
I used to, I would go to 3 different fast food places so I could get 3. I liked the French fries from McDonald's. There was a place called Royal Castle. I liked their cheeseburgers. And then I liked the Steak and Shake milkshakes. Yes. Oh, I've done that.
Okay, yeah. I think that counts for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great question. I'm not trying to be evasive. I've got to think about that. The fattest thing I've done recently. Just last weekend, we had my 5-year-old's birthday party, and I had 3 pieces of that cake.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was just I was doing it in my BS scientific way. This tastes like my mom's cake. This reminds me of my dear mother. Kelly leaves the room. This is the most moist cake. And then, of course, there was chocolate in it, so I was up all night having some kind of caffeine seizure. Yeah, I've done a lot of bad things. We all do. It's fun.
Martin asks, what is the guest you've always wanted to book, but you haven't yet?
Oh, boy, that's a really good one. I don't know. Anybody come to mind?
Well, one person we've talked about that you've talked to but haven't had in studio was one of our mutual favorite comedians, Larry Miller.
Oh, God, I love Larry Miller.
Yeah, I do too.
I would love to. Larry, what's he most famous for? The 5 stages of drinking?
10, yes, yeah, in terms of stand-up bit, yeah.
He's terrific. That's another great question. I don't know. There's so many people I'd love to talk to. You just want to make sure that you want to hope that you get him in the right mood. And you hope you get him when part of the problems with doing what we do, there are other people who do it who ruin it for everybody else.
Sure, yeah.
Like the guy attacks Tom Brady's kid, and then all of a sudden,
right.
So then they call you and they think, oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
I'm going to get attacked. So
I'd like to talk to Stephen King.
Oh, yeah, God, I'd love to talk to him.
Oh, you guys haven't?
Quick recommendation, by the way. He has a book, and I think this is the closest thing to an autobiography he has. It's a book called On Writing.
Yes.
And he tells his life story. It's brilliant. He's such an interesting guy.
Yes.
But he talks about his life, and he was poor, and how he and his wife started the thing, and recommendation. I'd love to have Steve Martin on.
Yeah, man.
I'm surprised you haven't.
He's very private, and I get it. And it's got to be it's very tough being that famous. He also has his autobiography is terrific.
Yes.
All right. Mike asks, how is Finn doing?
Oh, she's doing fine. She's this is my 5-year-old. She had a seizure out of nowhere in early December, and then 5 days later had a brain tumor removed. She was just at the doctor again yesterday. She's got 3 serious tests tomorrow they have to put her under for, but things look good. The doctors were amazing at the Riley Hospital for Children. It's a miracle that she's if you saw her, you'd never know that she had a brain tumor taken out in mid-December. But thanks for asking. She's doing great, and a lot of people sent their good wishes, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's what you realize how great people are when you really need them. Mm-hmm. And it was an amazing experience. And we were hoping everything goes right. She could come in here right now and start dancing around. You'd never know. But she's got a couple serious tests coming up, and we'll see how she does.
This one's for Josh, and Tom, you can give your version of it. Josh, what is the best joke that Tom has made about you on the show?
Well, I mean, it's kind of sort of taken on a life of its own, but
it's really mean. I think it's the one you're going to say.
It really wasn't that mean. It's probably more chalk.
It was all context.
Right.
I have no idea how we got there or how
we were talking about a guy who died because he died while getting hickeys, and I love getting hickeys. I don't like the after effects, but the feeling I just love. And I was talking, and I said, if that were me, the paramedics would probably be saying this is how he wanted to go.
And then I said the paramedics would be saying more chalk,
suggesting
that the chalk outline. That's mean. That's awful. I shouldn't have said that.
Tom, here's the thing. Like, it's not mean. If you say it's mean, then I go, oh, wait, is that mean? And then it starts to bother me a little bit. But just as a joke, it's hilarious.
We howled yesterday at a clip from yesterday's show where every time Tom makes a joke, he just throws his head back and the headphones fall off, and we, as viewers, love it.
I forgot what that was. We had a sequel to More Chalk today, but I forgot.
Less mayonnaise.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a good character name for you in a bit.
Less mayonnaise.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the sports desk, less mayonnaise. And you have a guy like some really big guy. Wow. I at the Super Bowl. That's my real name. Stop asking.
We've had a lot of questions asking how you decided to add Josh to the show permanently.
Okay. Let's see. What we did was we had a series of guest hosts pretty much every day. We were sort of handed that task, and so we would have various, primarily comedians, come in and guest host. And it's always one of those delicate political matters where everyone has different opinions, and I can never tell who they really like or not. And I kind of narrowed it down to Josh and another guy. And Josh didn't. He had no idea. And one day I was talking to Chick about something totally not related to radio, and it was kind of a serious topic. And then in the course of things, I don't know how he said. I can remember where I was standing. I was at my son Sam's house, and Chick out of nowhere, we're talking about this very serious topic, and he goes, that Josh guy's pretty funny. I go, what? Josh? You mean Josh Arnold, the comedian? He goes, yeah, maybe we should have him come in. And permanently? Yeah. Okay. Then I talked to Dean and a couple other people, and we all kind of agreed. And then we sort of did a semi-audition. I called you, though, 10 minutes later from Sam's Kitchen. And I said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And you said, where are you? And I said, I'm in a kitchen. And you said, yeah. No, that's true. I called you immediately. And I said, hey, you want to come on back over? And I don't think you knew it was an audition per se.
No, I didn't.
It was just that, and there are lots of different types of comedians, like we said before, but there are men and women that will come in here that, for example, have a very specific act that maybe someone else wrote for them or whatever, but they're not necessarily funny people. Josh doesn't have to do any aspects of his stand-up act per se. He's just a funny human being, a funny person who can listen and be funny on any topic. And that's hard to find. And he had a real natural feel for what we were trying to do.
All right. Jason asks, who were your primary comedic influences growing up?
I've always made this contention. I've always said, this sounds lofty and pretentious, but Mad Magazine sort of defined comedy for kids growing up in the 50s and 60s, and that sort of segued into National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live. But the albums that everybody had, and they were vinyl albums in those days, Bill Cosby, Why Is There Air? For me, Alan Sherman, who's most famous for Hello Mutta, Hello Fata. Very funny stuff. And then sort of in the marijuana era, it was Firesign Theater, which was great theater of the mind. If you've never heard those albums, you put on a pair of headphones, and those are very funny. Stand-up comedy was on television, and you'd see early Carlin with a tie.
Yeah.
My favorite's always been Robert Klein. He's always been brilliant. But I'm trying to think of what other records everybody had. Let's see. Everybody had Hello Mutta, Hello Fata. Can you remember the ones of that era? Your dad, who's
Button Down Mind, Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart.
That was huge.
Yeah.
Carlin?
Yep. Yeah. And then Carlin went from being the button-down guy to being the guy with a ponytail.
Yeah.
Very, very funny. And he was just so brilliant, and his language was incredible.
For me, it was Benny Hill when I was really young, and then Weird Al. I think every kid kind of had their Weird Al stage. And
I love Weird Al still.
I do too, yeah. Steve Martin. And then I was watching, when I saw Robert Schimmel's Hour Special, Unprotected, that's where I went, okay, I want to give this a shot. That one inspired me to try it.
Robert Schimmel was the cleanest dirty comedian ever.
Yes.
Robert Schimmel could take subjects about human sexuality and not make them smutty, but at the same time they were in this sort of filthy realm. I don't know how to describe it.
They were real.
Yeah, very honest.
Yeah, none of it felt gratuitous.
Yeah.
Angela asks, any plans for writing a book about the show, Tom?
Not really. I'd have to change too many names. All the really good stuff. You really don't want to get out there. These people are still around. You don't want to ruin their lives by telling the truth about them. The other thing about this is you don't have not that this is hard to do, but it's just that it's like being a cook every day. It's okay. You got to make breakfast again. You got to make lunch again. You got to make dinner again. It's hard to go back and talk about what you did 6 months ago. It's hard to remember. This happens all the time in the show, and it's probably even happened to you, Josh. We played something a couple days ago. I don't remember voicing it, hearing it, writing any of it.
Right.
And oh, wait a minute. Then you go, oh God, we did that, because you're cranking stuff out all the time. You forget about things you were even part of.
Right. Scotty asks, "What's an average day like for you after the show?"
Josh?
I usually hang around here for a little bit after the show and just talk to everybody. Sometimes I'll work on a bit, answer tweet. I don't look at social media during the show anymore, so I answer all that stuff or respond to that right after the show. And then if I go home, I'm reading or watching
porn.
That will occasionally occur, yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
slipped.
I'm trying to watch, do this thing where I'm trying to watch a movie a day that I haven't seen before.
Oh, that's cool.
It is, but it hasn't been, it may be unrealistic because some days I'm just like, I don't want to watch anything. So, and then
But that's a great task to give yourself, though.
yeah, I'm watching a lot of classics.
Who's the comedian? Oh gosh, he's on the show with Terry Bradshaw and Captain Kirk and
Jeff Dye.
Jeff Dye. Sorry, Jeff. He's great, and we were talking to him, and I want to say he has real bad dyslexia. I think that's what it is. But so he is self-educated to a degree because reading's difficult for him, and he watches a documentary film every day.
Wow.
Which is when chicks watched every documentary. So those two guys,
Yeah.
did you see the one about how they make pipe cleaners? Oh my God, it was great.
Yes.
But that's great to give yourself an assignment like that. And
Yeah.
I wish I could make myself get locked in a room with no phone and read for an hour every day, but I can't.
All right, just a few more. Faith asks, "What is your best parenting advice?"
I can't really give any. I don't have kids.
Well, I should know this one by now.
I can't. I mean, it's got to be different for every child, I would think.
Yeah. It's just you try to spend time with them, try to listen to them. To a degree, you can be their friend, but you've also got to be their parent. What is the best parenting advice I could give? Limit the amount of time they watch TV. And I've got a 2-year-old right now, and I don't have my phone, but if she were on my lap, she would have already reached in my pocket and grabbed it.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah.
I'll tell you a real quick story. I don't want to dwell on it, but I mentioned the fact that Finn had this surgery. So she's when she first went to the hospital, they had to get her breathing, and for the first part of the while she was there, they put a tube. What is it called when they intubate or something?
Incubate? No.
I forget the word, but they put you on a thing that keeps air in your lungs.
Ventilator?
This is how. Yeah, thank you. This is how scientific I am. So they had to remove that, and they didn't know exactly what kind of shape she'd be in at this point. So they removed the thing, and at the time, Kelly, her mom, was using my phone, and Finn's kind of groggy, and she's been on all these various anesthetic things, et cetera, et cetera. We're trying to see how she's doing. Is her brain working fine? And I, for whatever reason, was holding Kelly's cell phone. And so Finn, she's just had this thing out for about 5 minutes, and we're hovering over her, and she grabs the phone, and she touches it, and it comes up on the lock screen. And the nurse goes, "Do you know the code?" I go, "I don't know. It's not my phone. I don't know what the code is." And Finn, in her daze, grabs the phone and goes, "Dit, dit, 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 dit." Then I go, "Guess she's okay."
Yeah, that's a good sign.
But that's the new world. I mean, we all know that. A friend of mine told me a story the other night. He had a photograph to back it up. He was at this a pizza place that we both go to, and a college sorority came in, and they were all wearing the same more or less outfits, because I guess it was Rush or something. And He said it was 16 young women all walked in. And he said to his wife, "This is going to be so noisy." It's quiet as a mouse. He has a photograph of all 16 of them. It looks fake. It looks posed. All 16 of them are doing this, staring at phones. And, that's the world we live in, so less phone.
Jason asks, what is your favorite Tim Wilson story?
God, I've got a million of them. Tim was one of those guys, if you said, look, don't do this, then it's going to happen. So one time, Tim would sleep in his car. He didn't like flying, and so he would drive everywhere. He thought nothing of driving 14 hours to a gig. And to the point that there'd be a place 20 hours away, and he would figure out when he had to leave to get there half an hour before showtime.
Wow.
But I remember one time, everybody was gone. I was at my house by myself, and Tim rolled in, and it was a charity event, and it was a Sunday, and his clothes were so smelly. And I said, "You've got to wash your clothes because you just stink." So so he goes in and he washes his clothes. What am I saying? I take his clothes and I throw them in the washing machine. And then we start doing stuff and we forget about it. So it's like an hour before showtime and the place was half an hour away and we realized his clothes were all wet.
Oh.
So he had to wear my clothes on stage. So and he was a little taller than I was. And then, I remember he got up on stage. "Well, these are Tom Griswold's pants." And then he goes, "Everything wrong with the pants. And this is one of his shirts. What is this, silk?" He was great. I miss him so much. There's a million Tim Wilson stories.
Michelle writes, Tom, your interview style is brilliant. I'm impressed with you. How did you get so comfortable and find your groove, especially with guests that are hard to get to talk? I just love you.
Oh, that's sweet. The only trick I know is you try to find out what people want to talk about rather than ambushing them or asking the moronic questions like, if you were a rose, where would the pricks be? They'd be interviewing me. Just try to sort of, once you can sort of find out what they want to, and we've had situations in which someone will come in and they'll go, look, he's going to play this and this, but don't ask him to play that. Okay. You talk to him and they get comfortable and all of a sudden they go, hey, do you guys mind if I play my only hit? Oh, sure, go ahead. There's just trying to get them comfortable. And it doesn't always work. There are people that just don't want to do anything or don't want to talk. So you try to, you're there to help them get their message across or talk about whatever it is they do and try to make it work. So you just try to get them to realize that you're not going to ambush them. You're not going to attack them. Hope that they've got a sense of humor. Sometimes they really get it and they want to stick around. Not always. What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
All I do when it comes to interviewing now, I every time we have an interview, I watch you
squirm.
No, I just study you because I agree with the comments.
I do have a couple funny stories about interviews going wrong. Dean will back up this one. We've had Ozzy Osbourne in here twice, in the old studio and in this one. And we had him on the phone. And if you've seen Ozzy on TV, he's got a pretty thick accent. But on the phone, in person, it's a little easier to kind of, for everybody when he's right there. But we had him on the phone, and it was really hard to understand him. And everyone kind of started chuckling, and pretty soon Bob was under the desk. And it was just me trying to get through this thing using my best. I think I understand what he's saying in English. The other time, remember that we were talking to a lady from Dildo, Newfoundland, which is a real place, by the way. And do you remember what? And what happened was everyone started laughing so hard about this. And again, it was just me on my own there.
Yeah, and you and Bob had a tag team at one point.
And the lady's going, "Oh, I guess you find this all very funny." Yeah, actually we do, Rowena. Yeah, there are a few, but there have been some disastrous ones. One time, this was a technical thing that happened that was sort of interesting. We had the great Tony Bennett was elsewhere doing a satellite interview, and he had his pianist with him, and they started playing. And, it's great. So we're kind of listening in the headphones, but then, like you tend to do when there's something, you've got a little break, we started to talk among each other, assuming that, because we turned our mics off, not realizing that the way they'd wired the studio that day, our mics were still on. So the great Tony Bennett is, I left my heart, and he hears, Bob going, hey, who's got the magic, or whatever. And then Tony stops singing, hey, what's going on? Totally embarrassing. Oh, I'm sorry, we're talking to a legend, and we're ignoring him. Thanks. Yeah, that's perfect. Or you can get caught. I always advise, people of this. Don't, if someone says, say you're talking to some sports guy, so you see the game last night? Oh, yeah. Don't do that if you didn't see the game, because you're going to get nailed. What's the movie? Oh, there's a great scene in the movie Sideways. It's the beginning of the movie, and the two guys are in the car, and he goes, how'd you like the changes in the book? And, did you like the changes at the end? Thomas Hayden Church goes, yeah, oh, great. Then he looks back at him and goes, I didn't change anything. So if you haven't seen it, we interview people all the time. They'll have a brand new movie that isn't even out yet. So just tell me about it. What's it like? Or if it's been out, you go, I didn't see it.
Right.
Let me know. We're not reviewing it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not our responsibility to have seen it necessarily.
All right, we have a recurring thing here on the Nooner with Josh. Someone always asks us to mess with your desk, and they want to know what would happen if you walked in and we had messed with your desk.
Because we haven't actually done it yet.
No.
Yeah.
You're not a prank fan.
No, not at all. Every once in a while I'll come in and something will be askew. The computer will be dead. When we came back from vacation, the hardest show to do was the one right after vacation. So we came back it was more than 2 weeks off. So I came in here the Sunday before and the Monday before to make sure everything was okay. And then I came in, it was a Tuesday morning. I came in and both my computers were done. And so that, this is perfect. I was so pissed. And I don't know what had happened in the 12 hours I'd been gone.
Yeah.
No, you kind of need to be, it's sort of like if you're cooking when you're doing this show, like I said before, and all of a sudden you've got a bunch of stuff on the griddle and there are no spatulas.
Right.
What am I going to do? So there are tools that we need. And or you come in and your chair's too low.
Right. It's amazing what a difference that makes.
Yeah. You come in and you're doing this. Hey, chick. But stuff like that happens all the time, no matter what you're doing. I always love it when you see a live show and you wonder, what do they do? And you hear famous actors that have been doing the same show for 2 years, and all of a sudden they start daydreaming and, wait a minute, I forgot my line.
Yes.
So it's not that critical here, but little things can really drive you nuts. Or your headphones go out, and all of a sudden you can't hear anybody, and they're looking around. And all of us have jumped out of our chair in the middle of a show and run to the bathroom, or we've had an emergency phone call. It happens to everybody. Often they're not saying, hey, by the way, I may have to get up. And
Right.
Final two questions, and this is something I've wondered as I watched. He wrote a bit, basically, it was pretty mean towards you, the Grizz Who Stole Christmas.
That was fun.
And you were laughing hysterically along with it, and I thought, how did he get so comfortable? And Audra writes, Tom is a very sweet and thoughtful guy, according to the accounts that I've heard from his coworkers. The character he plays on B&T is a hoot, and I've always been a fan. Tom, are you at the point where it drives you crazy when you're approached and people reference the fact that you're a jerk? Seems like that could get really old fast.
That means they're listening carefully. I appreciate that. Thank you for getting the joke. That's sort of the gag. You want to. Here's the thing. If I can remember, I was in a car in Florida, and I was listening to this radio show, and I think it was 4 or 5 guys. I couldn't tell because no one ever identified themselves, and I felt like I was walking into a party I wasn't invited to. And they were talking about this one guy's boat, and everything they talked about, they agreed on, and it got so boring. It's fun to have some, natural yin yang or objection or whatever. And in many cases, it's real. My taste and Josh's taste in films very different. But sometimes a chick is especially fond of taking the opposite side of virtually anything.
Yeah.
Boy, those puppies sure are cute. No, they're not. What? How dare you?
Yeah, particularly and you would sort of taught me this, that if three in the room are really pro something, and I haven't said anything yet, like then I'm just gonna be anti it because it's
or try to give it a spin where it's
right, exactly. It's so much more interesting.
All right, final question. Roger wants to know, what is the meaning of life?
I'll tell you, Roger, the meaning of life.
Oh, darn, that's too bad.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that's the first time I've heard a legitimate answer to it.
Josh, my life is
headphones
literally.
went out.
Oh, I heard you. I heard you. Did
yeah,
you guys get
great.
it?
Yeah.
What you said is actually life altering,
Thank
Profound.
and we should all try to live that way.
Wise.
Yes.
you. Wow.
Thank you for
Tom.
that. Yes.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
You're welcome. Cheers.
All right. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Q&A. Make sure you sign up for our email newsletter at bobandtom.com and get the app Listen Mornings on your local radio station or at bobandtom.com.
Now, this is normally the time where I hug the guest and give them a kiss on the cheek.
Can you hug the moderator? I'm